Thank you, everyone. We can go.
Act Two of Inexpressible Island by David Young. This play is a work of fiction based on actual events. The year is 1912. Last night, in the first act, a party of 6 British explorers were stranded in an ice cave at the end of the world. They were facing down the reality of 5 months in a roaring, pitch-black hurricane that is the Antarctic winter. With no proper winter clothing or adequate food, their chances of survival are next to nothing. They kill seals and chew raw blubber by the light of a single candle flame and search for a way to endure the wildest extremes of nature. Light shift. Levick. Everyone in the cave is asleep.
Stephen!
Help me. Help me.
Campbell stumbles into the cave.
Loose motion.
Explosive, I'm afraid.
Oh, dear.
The wind blew me down. I've got a frost nip on my nethers.
Buttocks?
The entire region. Oh, Lord. Oh, God. I've soiled myself again.
Give them to me.
I can't bear this.
Yes, you can.
The filth, the stench.
Well, my bag smells like a loo in the Cairo train station.
I can't live like an animal. I'll go mad.
No, nonsense. These are our smells. We must learn to love them. The chronometer is missing.
Levick holds up the broken lanyard.
The lanyard looks as if it's been cut with a knife.
Abbott opens his eyes.
Good God.
Not to worry.
An overland journey to Hut Point, the navigation tables.
We'll follow the coastline.
How? We're heading into months of pitch black. We won't know if it's day or night.
We'll count the days.
How? Without an objective reference.
When you go to sleep, it is night. When you awaken, it is the morning of the next day.
Well, I'm awake now.
Ergo, it is morning.
8 bells. Rise and shine. Rise and shine. The day is fine. Shore Lake. Mr. Priestley.
Yes, sir.
The men rise from their bags one by one.
Dickerson.
Sir.
Browning.
Aye.
Abbott.
Good morning, gentlemen.
The men have all been visibly transformed by their confinement, filthy with a mixture of soot and seal fat, matted hair and beards, clothing in tatters.
How is Browning this morning?
Bit low, sir.
Abbott, status of the gums?
Rotting meat, sir.
I'm prepared to lance the abscess if need be.
Dickerson, your conjunctivitis?
No, ointment seems to have brought it round, sir.
Other physical problems?
I appear to have a sore opening up on my right buttock.
I'll apply some zinc.
Oh, very well then. All right, Peggy's today. Abbott and Dickerson, you mug up, 1100. Yes, Browning.
If I might, sir, I had another dream, which I'd like to recount to Dr. Levick while it's still fresh in mind.
Sheep's tongue and cheese on a slab of fresh bread.
Nothing to do with food.
Oh, yeah.
Hear the man out, it does him good.
Campbell obsesses, picking the filth out of his sleeping bag.
There was a father with 3 sons in a grand country house, turrets and battlements like a great medieval fortress. I was the middle son.
Go on.
Folk was making a fuss, preparing me for some kind of ceremony. There was an elaborate suit that belonged to my father. I was to wear it, but the rig didn't fit properly. A tailor was seeing to the crotch of my trousers with a mouthful of pins.
Mm-hmm. Describe the suit.
An officer's dress jacket, sir, with a blue velvet sash and a great wad of medals, fit for a king it was.
Oh, go on.
me and my brothers was preparing for the feast, and
Oh,
then
here comes the tiddy hoggies and the mutton chops.
the food wasn't even in it.
Yeah, the feast would follow the ceremony.
Exactly, sir. Now comes the strangeness of it. My eldest brother had grown a tail. And the three of us was examining it, trying to decide if we should tell our father about this tail or hide it from him. He was a fierce man, you see, and we was all deathly afraid of his temper.
What sort of tail?
Like a lizard's tail, sir. Thick and scaly, kind of hung out of his bum.
We pray for your bowels to move, Browning.
Interesting.
What does it mean, sir?
The dream is a voice of undigested seal meat.
Well, let's have a go. The father's jacket with the sash and medals fit for a king, you said. A cloak of office, if you will. Rings dons the magic robe and thereby supplants his father. But first, the ceremony, a trial by fire. The man at his crotch with a mouthful of pins is a kind of witch doctor.
Booga booga. Come on. What about the lizard tail?
We'll have to think about that.
All right, very well, gentlemen. If we can move on. I have been thinking, it's May the 1st, and we have done rather well, all things considered.
Thanks be to the Almighty.
Amen.
It will be another 4 months before the light returns sufficiently for us to begin the overland trek to rejoin Captain Scott's party at Hut Point.
I'll picture them there now, all snug, coal stove chuffing away.
Toasting their triumph at the pole.
Worried sick about us, no doubt.
What if Amundsen won the race?
Oh, don't talk nonsense.
Gentlemen, our own triumph over these appalling conditions will be no less heroic than Captain Scott's achievement at the pole.
We are writing history for the modern age.
Spot on. We've set a fine example, and now it's time to raise the bar.
Abbott begins to scrape his bowl. Tink-a, tink-a, tink.
My principal concern at this juncture is that a kind of lethargy may overtake us inch by inch. Dr. Levick?
There is an oppressive gloom which prolonged indolence induces. I would characterize it as a tone of morbidity that may infiltrate our thinking and strangle our collective will.
That sounds bloody awful.
Abbott?
Abbott stops scraping his bowl.
I don't follow, sir. This gloom.
They don't want you to go crackers.
Bit late in the day.
The brain is a muscle, and we must exercise it. I have revised our daily schedule. A more rigorous schedule, gentlemen. On the whole, an uncomfortable ship is a safe ship, and if we want safety, our minds must be on wires of steel. So please listen carefully. These are my new orders. Browning, Dickerson, and Priestley will henceforth take anemometer and temperature readings at 6 in the morning and 6 in the evening, no matter the weather. Dr. Levick will continue to maintain the log. Henceforth, there will be a general meeting at 1200 hours, immediately following mug up at 1100 hours. And in the short term, our focus must be on improving the efficiency of the blubber stove. Browning?
Sir?
You have the ability to visualize mechanical things in dimension. So we look to you for design improvements.
Soon as I get my strength back, sir.
No, Browning, the problem will not wait. Your health depends upon its resolution. And in this regard, daily exercise and fresh air must become a priority. And I would like to see you all out of doors, sharpening up your semaphore skills, half an hour every day.
Yes, sir.
Abbott? Abbott.
I think he's drifted off, sir.
Campbell grabs Abbott's foot and shakes it roughly.
Important things are being discussed here, Abbott.
I'm listening, sir.
Yep. I want the sledge and the specimen boxes kept clear of snow. I was out there this morning. It's all badly drifted over.
Well, everything is double-wanded, sir. There's no chance of it going missing.
That is hardly the point. Our survival depends upon that sledge and its provisions. Our scientific achievement resides in the specimen boxes, so I want it all in top nick, the drift clear by you every day.
Aye, aye.
I don't like the tone of your voice, Abbott. Much of this new routine is for your benefit.
As you say, sir.
Sit up on your bag. Next, it's the question of fresh meat. I want a hunting party on the seafront each and every afternoon from 1300 hours to 1600 hours. Abbott to lead, as he is our best hunter. Browning, Dickerson, and Priestley to accompany him in rotation.
No matter if it's blowing, sir.
I know that they are scarce in this season, but we must look.
As you know, we're down to 3 animals, and one of them is small.
Dear.
An equally pressing concern is the whole matter of personal hygiene. I know that we're all trying, but we must try harder. I want every man outside first thing in the morning for a freshener. Scour the face in the nearest snowbank, scrub the hands. No matter if nothing seems to be accomplished, do it. And then other matters. To leaven the day and lift us from our toil, Dr. Levick has offered to provide evening lectures and poetry readings from time to time. Human physiology, nutrition, perhaps some talks into his research into the emperor penguin.
Lectures about penguins, sir?
Well, the emperor is the most primitive bird in existence. We know that the embryo recapitulates the former lives of a species. It's my hope that upon proper study, the eggs I've collected will establish a link between birds and the reptiles from which birds sprung.
I look forward to that, Dr. Levick.
Mr. Priestley has suggested that we form a debating society.
Calisthenics for the mind.
Browning releases a long fart.
Ah.
Well done, Browning. Keep them coming.
We shall institute the debating society as soon as we can agree on a worthy subject.
Perhaps we could leave that to the men, sir.
That's a fine idea. You chaps, you come up with some topics.
Things to argue about, sir.
Well, reasoned argument sharpens the mind, Dickie.
These are my new orders. I trust we will all be busy.
Effective immediately, sir.
Everyone out for a freshener.
Light shift. Browning and Abbott flop out of the cave. Browning clings to Abbott in the gale. They must assume the flying posture, flat on their bellies.
He's lost his mind. There's no seals for 10,000 miles.
Browning starts to practice his semaphore.
Did you hear him in the night? My chronometer, the filth, I shall go mad. He's picking at the fur in his bag like a bloody baboon. He's come unstrung. That's what I think. And maybe you have too.
There's a logic to his command. I wouldn't expect you to understand.
Look at you. You're weak as a rat. You're sucking on a sugar cube every other Sunday. And then there's this lot.
Abbott indicates the food stores on the sledge.
We
must hold supplies for the overland journey.
So are you prepared to follow that idiot to your grave?
You've got a poison in you, Abbott.
Oh, that I do. My mouth. It's a volcano of pus. And whose fault is that?
Abbott displays the chronometer, hung on its lanyard. He sways it back and forth like a hypnotist. Browning is horrified.
Where'd you get that?
Found it in the drift. Somebody has to know what day it is. Look around. It's a pitch black hellhole at the end of the fucking earth. And I will not die for them. See, I choose to look at things as they are, Rings. A live donkey is better than a dead lion. You shouldn't be out in this. You could die, and God only knows what Campbell would have us do to you then. May I have the brisket saw, please?
Abbott puts his arm around Browning's shoulder.
You will have your tea shop, Rings, because I am not going to let you die. But when the time comes, I'm going to look for you to stand by me. It may be that you and I are the only ones who fully grasp our situation.
Light shift. Browning is alone now.
The real situation is that a land crab has hatched inside my body. I've told no one because of the alarm that will be caused, but the fact is sure. On the voyage down, we stopped at South Trinidad Island, a little speck out on the mid-Atlantic. Dr. Levick wanted to go to collect specimens. Lashley, Evans, Cherry and me manned the oars to take him ashore. Lashley and Cherry rowed back to the ship as there was nowhere to breach the pinnacle. The main thing about this island was the vast number of land crabs on the premises, like huge spiders. They were scuttling about on their spiny legs, eyes on long stalks. They had no fear of us, surrounded us wherever we went, they did, watching with their twitchy eyes, little fingers grooming their mouths like they was waiting for something that they knew about that we didn't. Just we'll do the rest. We worked like demons collecting specimens, and Dr. Levitt was very excited about the findings. I personally collected a new species of fern. Late in the afternoon, the boat came back for us, but the swell was such that they couldn't safely come ashore. There was nothing for it but for us to swim to them. Evans went first, and in a trice, the man was fighting for his life. Sir, the swell's sucking him back towards the rocks. He'll be dashed to bits. It was a moment of real panic, but there was nothing to be done. Dr. Levick behaved just as the best sort of Englishman does in such a situation. He sat down at the top of a rock, ate a biscuit in the coolest manner possible. He did not want that biscuit. It was a lesson not to panic. He knew that I saw and I understood. Evans was finally rescued, and it was established through signals that Dr. Levick and I would remain ashore in hopes of calmer conditions the following day. We banked a huge bonfire to warm ourselves and keep the land crabs at bay, but it only seemed to attract them. They stood at the edge of our light. I tried to stay awake, but I was stove in and there was no fighting it. That's when it happened. Both of us was fast in sleep. A female came forward on her spidery legs and deposited her egg in my mouth. The male then scuttled towards me to fertilize it. Other crabs moving close to watch. Dark and evil nativity it was. I was aware of nothing at the time, except a terrible thirst in the morning. There's no avoiding it. A story is being told within me.
Light shift to favor the cave. Campbell picks at his sleeping bag. Priestley writes in his journal. Dickinson hacks meat from a frozen penguin with a hatchet. Abbott smokes and stares at the ceiling.
Real explorers do not poach on one another's declared territory. Amundsen announced an expedition to the North Pole, and then he came south. So he sailed down there on a lie, and he will fail at the pole.
Abbott whispers to Dickinson. Their conversation continues under a sense of negotiation.
There is the factor of his dog, sir.
Campbell picks up his sextant and starts to polish.
They eat them, Mr. Priestley. There is an image that you must hold in your mind. The Norwegian boiling up the head of his favorite dog. That's the kind of barbarians that we are dealing with here. Dog brains for breakfast. What's all this then?
I wanna trade places with Dickinson, sir.
Why?
I wanna be closer to the mouth of the tunnel, sir.
Well, Dixon is popping in and out all day long, fetching items that we need from the sledge.
Just I have a slight problem with my breathing, sir. Tucked back in the corners. Everything is pressing in on me.
We are all making adjustments, Abbott. You do your best.
Pause. Dickinson chops at his frozen penguin. Abbott lies back in his bag and smokes. He fidgets, drumming on his chest.
I mean, I don't mean to be short with you, Mr. Priestley. There is an element of Royal Navy tradition to all these questions. It may be hard for you to grasp the nuances.
Can you tell me what time it is, sir?
1100 hours.
I'm not really part of the family, so to speak.
Oh, nonsense. Come on, you fit in beautifully.
Oh, thank you, sir, but I've no real qualifications except my aunt's friendship with Sir Clements Markham. Never been more than 100 miles from home. Never pitched a tent.
Royal Navy lineage is highly overrated. My father commanded the Royal Yacht. He was a bloody taxi driver for the Monarch. Nothing more. The only real qualification for these journeys is an appetite for hardship.
I suppose that's what I wanted. Sir, having read my Conrad, a young man seeks his crucible.
Dickinson, if you would take the sextant, if you would. I think geology would prove to be a good vocation for you, Mr. Priestley.
I don't really care about rocks, sir. Geology allows me to roam the hills and think about the questions that really interest me. There's a larger project to my thinking, you see.
Oh, and what would that be?
It all sounds rather pretentious, really.
Come, don't be shy.
I want to understand time, sir. Learn how to take it apart and put it back together again. A human time, I mean, the clock of the soul.
Abbott makes a small ticking sound.
Well, perhaps you should be writing novels, like Mr. Conrad.
Someday, sir.
Campbell reappraises Priestley. Dickinson takes the sextant over to his side of the cave.
I wonder what you'll make of all this when you look back years from now.
I shall remember your commands, sir. How you handled the men.
Well, it's my job to remind them of their best qualities. One must shape the experience, give it a context, a resonance.
Something to hold on to.
I will tell you what I will hold on to. Dickinson here. Gold. Pure, shining, unalloyed.
Thank you, sir.
You can't hear me, Dickinson. The invisible wall.
Apologies, sir.
Dickie's got Abbott whispering in his ear, so we must keep a sharp eye. He may forget which side his bread is buttered on.
Oh, you can't hear him, dog.
The invisible wall.
Dickinson,
Don't sit there, slack-jawed, Dickie. Come on, make yourself useful. The cooking area is filthy.
Dickinson sets about tidying up. Abbott lights a cigarette from his lamp.
Thankfully, we all seem to be getting along rather well.
Well, things are simple here, and that's the beauty of it. All I need to do to break a man is to put him outside the circle. Right? Let him stand out there in the wind and do some thinking about the benefits of my command. Smartness and silence are the hallmarks of an efficient ship, and I think the men know that, and that's why we get along. Keep up your journal, Priestley. Let this cave be your crucible.
The back of the chronometer is already off, so to speak. I'm looking into the workings.
Tick, tick, tick.
Well, let me know when you figure out what makes our friend in the corner there to go round and round. You see the way that he fidgets? as a sure sign that a man has another man inside him, someone that he doesn't want us to see. Well, no worry. We shall get down to brass tacks before we're done here. Off you go, Dickerson. Come on, fetch us some fresh hoosh for the snow for the hoosh.
Dickerson exits.
I shall remember these days for the rest of my life.
You watch. Everything will blend together. One endless day, a few well-practiced anecdotes to fudge over the nasty bits, and the rest, pure invention.
Browning awakes with a sudden flail and sits bolt upright.
Easy does it, Rings.
Doctor,
He's fetching medical supplies from the sledge.
I had another one of my dreams, sir. I can't close my eyes, but they keep rushing in on me.
Calm down, Brownie.
What sort of dream?
Not the chap with the lizard tail sticking out his arse, I hope.
It was the father and the three sons again, sir, only this time I dreamt of the mother. I was with her in the kitchen and she opened the oven door to show me, and there I saw a human form trussed on a spit, the skin lifting back in black curls like the crackling on a pig, and I knew it to be the body of my father.
It's a nightmare, Browning. It's nothing more.
Something has been released within me, sir. I cannot control it.
You must, Browning. You will.
It's can be done, sir.
Don't talk nonsense.
The toes of my left foot, sir. They've all turned black.
When?
Some weeks, sir, I can't take off my finnerscope for the smell.
Let's have a look.
Priestley sets about unwrapping Browning's foot. Abbott watches carefully.
Calm down, Browning.
I can't.
You must.
Don't you see? The ship picked up the pole party and foundered with all hands. We're the only survivors. Even if help is sent, no one will ever think of looking for us on this shore. We'll watch each other die one by one, and I should be the first.
Priestley uncovers Browning's black and swollen foot. Browning gasps in terror.
Patience, Charlie.
Jumping Jesus.
I will thank you to keep your peace.
Campbell looks at the horrible foot.
Why on earth didn't you tell us?
I was afraid to, sir. I'd be letting down the side.
Levick enters via the tunnel, takes in the scene at a glance, moves to examine the rotting foot.
No cause for alarm. Dab some zinc ointment on the open bits. Keep it dry, good as new in no time.
I won't be losing my toes, sir.
That depends on where the margin forms. I think we'll manage to save all 5 little piggies.
Oh, thank you, Mother. Thank you.
Dickerson enters through the tunnel.
Let this be a caution to us all. We share a common body here, and this damaged foot is attached to everyone. So in future, we must nip all such health problems in the bud, and to do otherwise is an act of blatant irresponsibility. I could write this up on your flimsy rings, not the sort of thing the man wants on his record.
Very sorry, sir.
We will all learn from this, so be still now and focus your energies on healing.
My foot, sir. Could we cover it? It's a stench.
Abbott.
I'd like to distribute sugar, sir.
Abbott moves to wrap the blackened foot back in its finnerscope.
That's a fine idea. We'll lift our spirits. Sing for us, Dickie. Absent Friends.
Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm doth bind the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea. O Savior, whose almighty word the winds and waves submissive heard, who walkest on the foaming deep, and calm amidst its rage did sleep. Oh, hear us when we cry to thee, for those in peril on the sea.
Light shift. Abbott and Dickinson converse in whispers.
Have you noticed anything
What?
about number one?
What?
He's lost track of the days.
What are you talking about?
He's giving out sugars on a Saturday.
Yesterday was Saturday. This is Sunday.
No. He's got it wrong.
Abbott flashes the chronometer.
It's Saturday.
You've no business with that.
Somebody has to know what day it is.
No, I want no part of this.
I've told Browning. He's in league with us.
What do you mean?
What was, isn't. We are fighting for our lives here, and we need you with us.
Abbott forces the chronometer into his hands.
I am putting you in charge of the days, dog.
What do you expect of me?
I have no plan. Haven't you had enough of plans?
What?
We own the days. We stand together. There's no other way. Blind obedience is a form of madness. Be not afraid, dog. I won't let you slip into madness.
Light snapped to black. Lights up on The Cave. The men are eating hoosh in their bags. Levitt, Campbell, and Priestley eat like proper gentlemen. The men have atrocious eating habits. Dickinson sneezes in his bowl and licks it clean like a dog. Abbott makes his scraping sound, a steady rhythm. Browning unconsciously picks up the beat, and then Dickinson joins in, a rudimentary rhythm band.
Enough. A voice. That's a 70-knot wind.
What time is it, sir?
1700 hours.
Listen to it.
Good Lord.
Demons are upon us, boys.
Remain calm. The roof will hold.
I'd like to institute a new rule. No smoking in the cave until all have finished dinner.
Right you are.
We are not animals. We will not live like animals.
Beast is hungry.
Did you hear that? It's a voice.
A hurricane, sir.
Muscatel.
Shall we begin our lecture series tonight? Breasted's History of Egypt. The volume has been a wonderful companion on this expedition, and having read it 3 times, I thought I might exercise my understanding of the text.
Ancient Egypt. Jolly good.
To the land of the pharaohs.
First, we of the modern age must adjust the mind's eye, for we are going thousands of years back in time.
Oh my.
This is good. I like this.
The roots of modern civilization are planted deep in the basin of the Eastern Mediterranean.
Beirut. Have you ever been to Beirut? Beautiful girls. Smell like cloves. They do. But a week later, you wake up with the black dong and the doolally tap.
Where was you there, Tony?
Oh, I've been a lot of places.
I think that our confinement here has taught us how powerfully the forces of nature can react upon the mind, and so it was for the ancient Egyptian.
Allah, like bomb.
There is no Allah yet. The Prophet Muhammad won't be born for another 3,000 years.
Who was their god?
Well, they had many deities, chiefly Ra, the sun god. Examine your own feelings here about the sun in our desert kingdom. At the dawn of civilization, man had a different relationship with nature. The course of the sun in the sky, the shape of a cloud over the ocean, a wind. Everything carried a message from beyond. Man behaved like a child who believes that the world was created solely for him. God was whispering in his ear all day long. They rolled the day forward like a great boulder. Priests wearing jackal heads, the rustle of their garments. Still with me, Tiny?
Who was to come up with the idea for the pyramids?
Oh, you speak of the great pyramids opposite modern-day Cairo.
The ones on the syrup bottle.
Giza, built by the pharaoh Khufu some 3,000 years before the birth of Christ. Herodotus relates a traditional story that this tomb demanded the labor of 100,000 men for 20 years. All this happening before Britain entered the Bronze Age.
Why?
What do you mean?
Why'd they bother?
Well, the final key to eternal life was to perpetuate your name and have it spoken by the living. That's what this is all about.
That's fine for the bloke in the tomb. What about the lad who spends his life going at the rock with the hammer and the chisel?
He was a happy man.
Why?
Well, in my experience, men are the happiest when they are dwarfed by their projects.
Yeah, but those weren't men. Those were slaves.
No, words. Words were a potent form of magic for the ancient Egyptian. The chiseled inscriptions on the tomb state plainly that these buildings were intended to stand forever. I would put it to you that the man with the chisel felt the power of the words he was inscribing. They caused events to occur. In his own small way, he was conquering time.
I chisel, therefore I am.
Precisely.
And so we write in our journals, or we name a headland after a notable from home so that the world will remember our passing.
Nobody will remember us.
Maybe they'll read Dickerson's journal. Every entry starts cold, windy.
True, isn't it?
All gone now, thousands of years of human history. All that remains are these titanic monuments and their frail inscriptions.
The Priestley Glacier, Mount Browning, Cape Dickerson. Don't smile, no, we're surrounded by features that need names. And those who pull with me will be remembered. I intend to set my mind to this matter very shortly.
I'd like a snug anchorage named after me, sir. That way it'd always be part of a certain kind of story. Finally, we made it to Dickerson Cove, and our lives were saved.
I want to be part of a grand panorama. We stood atop Mount Browning and saw 100 miles.
He fell down a crevasse on the Abbot Ice Tongue and was never heard from again.
We must name this place where we are marooned.
It's impossible. These living conditions are beyond description.
Inexpressible Island.
Jolly good. Inexpressible Island. What do you think?
It has a rather modern ring to it. I'll take the matter under advisement.
1,000 years from now, they'll stand in Trafalgar Square, look up at Nelson's column and think, what? What would they think?
They'll think the English, a great civilization, a seafaring nation, and there stands her greatest naval commander.
That's not what they'll think.
Well, tell us what they'll think, Abbot.
They will think, I wonder if I can shinny up there and chop that swanky's noggin.
And so we steal from ourselves. We vandalize memory. We break off our connections with the past, leaving behind more than we carry forward. One often feels that mankind has forgotten more than it knows. was ever for nothing but this, and this minute that you have but slumbered here. Oh, these visions. But we think we know so much.
I know nothing.
Feeling I dreamed, gentlemen, do not reprehend, will pardon. It's time for the evening anemometer reading. Where are we in the rotation?
My go, sir.
All right, up. Come on, that's the stuff.
No, I'm sorry, sir. Bran is confined to quarters until we see some improvement in that foot.
Volunteers?
Everyone avoids eye contact with Campbell. He reaches for his boots.
Very well.
No man should be out in that, sir.
We have a plan. We will stick to it.
Sir.
A plan. Come on, does anyone else have a plan?
Interesting talk, sir.
Well, you see how it goes. One thing leads to the next.
Fire to warm one's hands.
We inhabit an historical moment, gentlemen. Our undertaking here matches anything from the ancient world, and I'd like to see you all writing in your journals. But if you will excuse me, I have an appointment with the wind.
It's blowing a hurricane, sir.
Good.
Campbell makes his escort.
I'm so afraid. Please, Mother, do something.
Well, shall we have a look at my cache of raisins?
Yes. Ding, ding. The door to the South Pole is always open. I sit by the fire and tell my stories. Mother and the cache of raisins.
A king's ransom in muscatels.
Are you going to eat one tonight, Mother?
I'm just sightseeing for the moment.
Oh, muscatel. Sometimes I say the word over and over to make me mouth water.
Come on, jam them all in. I dare you. Come on. Oh, yes.
Mother's merely setting a standard for self-control. And a fine example it is. What are we up to now, Mother?
63.
63.
Come.
Oh, the heft of them.
Come on. Eat one.
No, I don't think so. Not tonight. Perhaps tomorrow. Maybe I'll save them until Midwinter's Eve. What a feast that would be.
The 21st of June? That's a long haul from here.
There's a lot to be said for hoarding rations the way you do.
A little mound of time.
Yes.
Gentlemen, it's official. I'm hoarding sugars.
Did you hear that?
What?
Number one. I thought I heard him calling.
That's the wind. I'm always hearing my father.
Is it possible for the wind to drive a man mad, Mother?
Anomamania, that's the medical term for it. Wind madness.
Muscatel.
I heard that when men die of cold, they've been found absolutely stripped, with their clothes lying all about them on the ice, as if their last sensation had been of intolerable heat.
Perhaps we should go and give Lieutenant Campbell a hand.
Indeed.
I could help with that, sir.
No cause for alarm. Finish preparing the hoosh.
Priestley and Levick exit the cave in haste.
Come on. It's turning now. Poor Campbell. He's outside crying in the wind. You were going to betray us.
You've got no plan. At least he has a plan.
Don't listen to him. He's lost his mind.
Oh, have I?
Abbott sits up, reaches over to rummage under Campbell's bag.
You're the one who is lost, dog. Follow your master no matter what. His journal. Have you looked? Pencil sketches of the bleeding hills. He's a schoolboy. He's peeping over a garden wall. He's not meant to lead men in a place like this.
Abbott leafs through Campbell's journal. Browning and Dickinson are aghast.
You have no right to...
Oh, yeah, I know. Dog can't know his master's private thoughts. The whole system might explode. You should read what he says about you. Here it is. A child in a man's body. Happy only when he is treated as a child. Incapable of making the simplest decisions without my approval.
Don't listen.
Reminds me of a dray horse I rode as a lad in Durham. So, interesting stuff.
Abbott flips the journal to Dickinson's hands. At that moment, Priestley and Levick drag Campbell into the tunnel. He has been shattered by the cold.
Make way! Make way!
It's a bone-cutting wind. 82 knots, record it. 47 degrees of frost. Record that. The anemometer was listing badly, so I resecured the safety lines are on top, Nick.
Get in my bag.
I shall be just fine.
Get in my bag.
Has Mr. Priestley distributed the biscuit? Rise and shine, Mr. Priestley, rise and shine. I've been thinking about my biscuit all morning. I can't feel my face.
Campbell falls into his bag. His whole body is chattering.
Maybe a biscuit, please.
Priestley produces the lid, a sense that they hang on the cusp of catastrophe. The biscuit ritual is the last thread. Dickinson quietly pushes the chronometer into Campbell's hands. Campbell is stunned. Abbott gives Dickinson a look of pure hatred.
Rings! Whose is this?
Lieutenant Campbell.
Priestley distributes the biscuits.
And this?
Dr. Levick.
Next.
You, sir.
How about this little rotter?
Dickinson.
And again.
That's mine, sir.
And this must be yours, Abbott.
It's in 6 fucking pieces.
Luck of the draw.
The pig's eye.
Is there a problem, Abbott?
It's always the same. Browning goes down through the ranks the last biscuit. It's the worst biscuit. Always lands in the stokehold.
Well, heaven forbid that we should be unfair to the stokehold, Abbott. Won't everyone return your biscuits to Mr. Priestley? I have another plan. It's a little game I learned at my father's knee in the Royal Yacht, Victoria Novel. Choose a word with more than 6 letters and then write it down.
Levick thinks, writes.
Done?
How many letters?
9.
Good. Abbott, select a number between 1 and 9. The first letter in Dr. Levick's word will be number 1.
Oh, I see how you're going. Totally good.
I don't.
Choose a number 1 to 9.
5.
Campbell points to the others one by one. Levick notes their choices.
2.
1.
4.
Good. And I will take 3. And for you, Dr. Levick, I will choose a number 6. What was the word?
Facetious.
Never heard of it.
I thought you were being facetious, Abbott. I thought you were joking. So, Dr. Levick, who goes first?
Browning, then you, sir. Mr. Priestley, Dickinson, me, and bringing up the rear.
Abbott picks up the 6 pieces of biscuit. He can't believe it.
Was it very clever? Whatever the fuck it was.
Abbott, I would prefer it if you curbed your colorful language when we are in company. When you are alone on the other side of the invisible wall, you may speak like a pimp at a whore's tea party. But when we are here together, I would appreciate a measure of decorum.
I have a question about the wall, sir.
I'm listening.
How do we know if it's up or down?
Well, I would have thought that would have been self-evident.
Well, I'm afraid it's not, because there are times I'm surprised I'm overheard. I think the wall is up, and it isn't.
Tiny's a bit thick.
Well, it's easy to sort out. You come up with a signal, Tiny.
Abbott sticks his knife in the floor.
That means
Careful.
the wall is up.
You don't want to cut yourself. Under these conditions, you have a large discharging abscess in your mouth.
Oh, it's nice. It's nice behind the invisible wall. Can't hear a fucking thing.
Abbott lights a cigarette, lies back in his bag. Campbell is staring at his knife.
Who's the worst commander you ever had?
Oh, well, let me think. I'm not sure.
Dickinson,
Yes, sir.
brew me some tea.
Come on then. The very worst. Lowest to below.
As you say, sir.
Browning? Browning,
Yes, sir.
you are confined to quarters until we see some improvement in the foot.
I want to pull my weight, sir.
Well, there'll be ample opportunity for contribution. You can help me clean this filthy midden tomorrow morning.
Aye, aye, sir.
Abbott.
Abbott smokes.
Abbott.
Abbott smokes.
Abbott!
Oh, the wind blows the days away.
Where did you get that lanyard off my chronometer?
I don't know. Found a bit of cord lying around.
I don't think that is what happened at all.
Campbell compares Abbott's knife lanyard to his chronometer lanyard. It's a perfect
You-
match.
My good man are a sneak. You are a sneak, Abbott, a filthy, lying sneak.
Abbott smokes, stares at the ceiling.
Look at me when I address you. Bastard! Outside into the wind!
Campbell has Abbott's
No!
knife.
No!
Sir!
Well, here's where we are, lads. Look at it. I'm not afraid of the fucking wind. Let your hearts not be troubled. I go to prepare a place for you.
Abbott backs out of the cave.
It's blowing a hurricane, sir.
Good. Go to sleep.
Campbell disappears into his bag.
Are you getting to feast in your dreams tonight?
I hope so, Mother.
Go to the castle. Your father and his 3 fucking sons. You eat like a gannet.
As you say, sir.
Light levels dim to favor Levick and Priestley.
What will happen to him?
He's in God's hands.
Please, please.
It's out of our control.
I want to go home.
It's all right. I'll take you there. Come on,
Priestley clings to Levick.
get on. Vroom, vroom.
An evening journey, Mother.
Yes, I know.
A country lane.
Yes, I know a lovely cake shop in Devon. Vroom, vroom. It's dusk. The first stars and planets are pinned on the high horizon. Crickets. I kick us into low gear. Vroom. Coast down a long drive lined with beech trees. The rustle of their leaves. A thin pairing of moon.
Oh, I want a full moonlight.
Fine. A full moon it is. We accelerate beneath a bower of chestnut trees, pavement stenciled with silver moon shadow. It's early October, but the evening heat belongs more properly to midsummer. One of those lovely surprises.
The final pulse of a fading season.
Exactly so. Here at the roaring loom of time I ply, and weave for God the garment thou seest him by.
Keats.
Yes. Vroom, vroom. Accelerating now, out of the tunnel of trees into the vastness of the night, the grand sprawl of the heavens.
Light shift. Priestley comes to his feet.
21st of May, 1912. In the dream I awake and I am old, so very old. I creep out of the tunnel. The night is hard, clear. The stars steel points. The glacier a river of burnished silver. The snow rings and thuds to my footfall. Ice moves, a roll of distant thunder. The still further cooling of the earth. Abbott? Abbott! A great silence descends from the heavens. A silence I can feel on my skin.
Fade to black. End of Act Two. This evening's reading was performed by Greg Ellwand as Dr. Levick, Victor Ertmanis as Dickinson, Eric Peterson as Priestley, Julian Richings as Browning, Rick Roberts as Abbott, and R.H. Thomson as Lieutenant Campbell. Stage directions were read by Briony Glassco, sound design by Verne Good. The performance was directed by Richard Rose and produced by playwright David Young, with special thanks to Margaret Atwood. If you have the means to do so, we encourage you to donate to PARC, a social services organization that is providing thousands of meals every day to homeless individuals in downtown Toronto. You'll find a donation button in the chat thread that accompanies this broadcast. We hope you will join us in the Ice Cave tomorrow evening at 7 p.m. for Act 3 of Inexpressible Island.